A stormy Saturday made way for a calm Sunday, but we are not out of the woods. Meteorologist Jasmine Lomax standing by, tracking our next weather maker as it heads our way.
There's no way you can tell me that they can't get a hold on this crime right now. There's no way you can tell me that.
A Baltimore mother who lost her daughter in the Brooklyn Day shooting sounding off on Maryland's juvenile justice laws. Her message to lawmakers and DJS Secretary Vincent Schiraldi. And an economist puts Baltimore's bike lane project under the microscope. His concerns about the price tag.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
A calm finish to the weekend after ice, snow, and rain blanketed parts of our area Saturday afternoon. Snow slammed much of the East Coast, leading to massive cleanup efforts in New York and New England. More than 1,000 flights were delayed and canceled across the country just today. And we're keeping an eye on the radar as more storms are headed our way over the next 48 hours. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Mary Bubala. Let's get right to meteorologist Jasmine Lomax, tracking our next weather maker as it heads east. Jasmine.
Thanks, Mary. That's right. We are preparing for more rain as we head into early this week, and that could have an impact on your commute home, your commute to work. We are nice and dry right now thanks to high pressure. This high pressure system is going to stay over our region tomorrow, so you still have another nice and dry day to enjoy. It looks good as the work week begins, but we're keeping watch on a low pressure system near Texas. That's going to lead to our next chance for rain, and we could even see a couple of early flurries Tuesday morning. So you want to make sure that you are staying weather alert. We're really talking about heavy rain, and that could lead to some minor flooding, especially in low-lying areas.
I'm still going to do it.
What else do you want people to know about Aaliyah?
This is why Aaliyah went to Brooklyn Day block party. My baby laid her life down so we can start to expose all of these broken systems.
Now, two of the teens charged in Brooklyn Day were under DJS supervision at the time, one of them being 18-year-old Tristan Jackson, charged as an adult, but a judge ordered him to be held in a juvenile facility. Vincent Hill, Fox 45 News.
And Vincent, thank you. The decision to keep Jackson in a juvenile facility as he awaits trial comes as Fox 45 News is uncovering more questions about the way DJS operates. One of the intake officers at the Baltimore City Juvenile Justice Center was replaced after that officer released two juvenile suspects accused of an on-camera assault and attempted car theft in Butchers Hill. City State's Attorney Ivan Bates says Schiraldi is dealing with a culture problem inside the department.
I believe, talking to Secretary Schiraldi, he really gets it. But I also think that he's dealing for culture and DJS, where you have individuals who just don't want to ever, no matter what young people do, ever want to have a young person detained. So he's fighting that culture.
The City State's Attorney's Office is also raising questions about the intake process. Catherine Rosenblatt is the Deputy Chief of the Juvenile Division. She says she hasn't seen a uniform process when it comes to making intake decisions.
Currently, they act as a bit of a gatekeeper because it's their intake officers who are making the decision whether the case should be charged immediately or should be charged later, but still charged, or even not charged at all.
Bates is pushing for legislation to remove some of the guesswork from the process, aiming to put the decision in the hands of a judge. Last year, he said nearly a third of cases sent to DJS should have gone directly to a judge instead. Fox 45 News pressed the Department of Juvenile Services for more information about the hiring process for intake workers and how many are currently on staff. DJS responded to our request, saying intake officers are case managers and often work in the community. A breakdown of their hiring process and staffing numbers is available right now at FOX45.com. And that brings us to our question of the day. What's your biggest concern as lawmakers return to Annapolis? The Department of Juvenile Services, juvenile crime, a budget deficit, all of the above, or something else? So far, 90% of those who voted say all of the above. Head to foxbaltimore.com/vote to weigh in. And Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost will be in Annapolis following every step of this year's legislative session over the next 3 months. Keep up with our coverage on air and online at foxbaltimore.com.
And now the Ravens wait. While the AFC playoff picture is set as far as teams, we're still waiting on a couple of seeds tonight. The Ravens are a lock at the 1 and playoff bye. It is time to rest and stay sharp this week. Sit back and relax this weekend watching the wild card rounds. The Ravens will host a divisional round after that, either January 20th or 21st. The AFC field is set as far as the 7 teams in. Still waiting to see about the Dolphins and the Bills that are playing right now for the 2 seed. The Ravens will host the lowest seed remaining after the wild card weekend. Chiefs and Texans division winners. Browns, Bills, Steelers, the wild cards right now. Yes, the Steelers got in with a wild card thanks to beating the Ravens last night and help from the Titans when they knocked off the Jaguars today. The AFC North so has 3 teams now in the playoffs, the Browns owning the top wild card.
Morgan, thanks. Baltimore police say they are investigating a series of car break-ins this afternoon at Mount Sinai Baptist Church along East Preston Street. Police say the break-ins happened during a worship service and one of the cars was stolen from the lot. An investigation is ongoing.
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Dozens of people gathered for a pro-Palestine rally in Annapolis today, calling for state lawmakers to support an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. They are also urging lawmakers to support more aid for Gaza as millions of displaced Palestinians continue to deal with hunger and a lack of water.
We really want our lawmakers to acknowledge the basic rights and humanity and dignity of Palestinians who have been suffering for many decades under an illegal occupation.
They're also protesting what they call acts of discrimination against Maryland students and teachers who are Muslim or who have voiced support for Palestine. Well, you just heard from Zainab Chowdhury. She's the president of Maryland's chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations. Chowdhury also serves on the Maryland Hate Crime Commission and was suspended after a series of controversial social media posts, including one comparing Israeli supporters to Nazis. She was reinstated by the Maryland Attorney General Anthony Brown, who says his office doesn't and didn't have the power to suspend her in the first place. And we have also seen several incidents of anti-Semitism in recent months, including 2 Jewish women in Baltimore County who say an anonymous social media account posted their son's name and picture calling for his slow death. Their son is in the Israeli Defense Force, the IDF. And the post is from an account with the name HC Free Palestine.
We understand that there's a war going on, and we understand that there's people who believe one thing and people who believe something else. But this is a whole other level. There's maybe a little bit more danger in here than we realize.
Baltimore County Police, Howard County Police, and the FBI all investigating. According to the women, the account belongs to a Howard County man who once ran for county council and now sits on an advisory committee. Fox 45 News reached out to the owner of the account. We have not yet heard back. Elsewhere in Baltimore County, 2 signs in support of Israel were vandalized outside a synagogue for a second time last month. According to the Baltimore Hebrew congregation, the 2 signs were put at the corner of Park Heights and Slade Avenues, but the signs have since been slashed twice in the past 4 weeks.
Deeply disturbed that someone would impinge on our right to speak our mind. Deeply disturbed that anyone would object to a statement of bringing hostages home. Deeply disturbed that the property of a synagogue would be vandalized. And given the nature of friction in our world and our community, Baltimore is not immune to this. Not surprised that people act in such despicable ways.
Well, just days before that, 2 Jewish homeowners taking part in the miracle on 34th Street in Hamden say they found smashed watermelons in their yards and also on holiday displays. Watermelons are a symbol of Palestinian solidarity.
This is hard. right? Like I've lived here always. Right after I've cleaned up my watermelon, or after they stopped in front of my house and yelled at me, I went to 7-Eleven and I got called a dirty Jew.
Last month, the Baltimore City Council did not pass a resolution condemning Hamas and anti-Semitism. The council members who abstained say they wanted a resolution that also condemned hate against innocent Palestinians. That resolution was introduced the same week, but also did not pass. Coming up, Baltimore is spending nearly $75 million on its bike lane project. An economist raises concerns about taxpayer benefit on what he calls a hefty price tag. Newly released video from the Capitol riot shows protesters interacting with congressmen. What we're learning about the exchange through a broken window. From Falls Road to your road, Baltimore is ramping up its construction of bike lanes, and in many neighborhoods, they're bringing a huge amount of frustration with them. Tonight, Jeff Abel examines the costs and the concerns that go far beyond tax dollars.
Well, by the time the city finishes installing all of its bike lanes, planners estimate the cost to taxpayers will rank more than $72 million. And analysts predict most taxpayers will get little return on their money. In neighborhood after neighborhood, drivers are struggling with the sounds of congestion.
The flow has tremendously slowed up, backed up, and I've been sitting here, I don't know, feeling like at least 15 minutes. Just stop and go.
On many roadways, traffic lanes are being eliminated to accommodate bike lanes. On this stretch of Harford Road, what was once 4 lanes of traffic is now 2 lanes, forcing blocks of backed up traffic and no bikes in sight.
What about widening the street and making room for them? But narrowing it, no.
Who's managing the money?
Many residents say they were never consulted before disruption became a permanent part of their lives, and the cost of disruption isn't cheap.
And who's making certain that for every dollar spent, there is a benefit that is tangible to the taxpayer?
In documents obtained by FOX45, the amount of city, state, and federal tax dollars spent on Baltimore's bike lanes so far amounts to $21.1 million. That's enough to pay for 60 new trash trucks or 5,300 new streetlights.
But I don't think the average person has any idea how much money is being wasted on silly projects that have no impact, no positive impact on the great majority of the people.
In fact, in emails to Baltimore City Council members this week, we asked how many tax dollars are being spent on constructing and maintaining bicycle lanes in your district on an annual basis. We received no replies.
It's a lot of expense, and it's not obvious to me that we're actually benefiting society from a broader benefit.
Economist Anaban Basu predicts bike lanes could produce an even greater cost, one that's more environmental than financial.
If the result of this is to cause more vehicular congestion, so cars are sitting in traffic longer, waiting for this light and that light, so on and so forth, guess what you get? You actually get worse environmental outcomes as you're trying to promote a cleaner environment and more biking.
The city's goal is to have 77 miles of bike lanes complete in the next 4 years. So far, it's only a third of the way there. Jeff Abel, Fox 45 News.
Well, former Mayor Jack Young signed off on a pro-bike lane proposal 5 years ago, but now he says he regrets that decision.
My thought was that we need to have alternative for people who ride bikes to be able to get around the city, but not to the magnitude of this. You know, it's just totally ridiculous how they're building all these bike lanes, putting these flex lanes up, and the streets look a mess.
Young is calling for a moratorium on bike lanes across the city, as are city residents who say they were never consulted about the redesign of the roads in their communities.
It's been a pretty quiet day following an active day yesterday, but in just a couple more days, we're getting ready for the next weather maker, and it could have impacts on your Tuesday and your Wednesday. Currently, we are nice, dry, and clear at 41. It's a little breezy with winds out of the west around 15 miles per hour. Around the state, our temperatures are in the 30s and the 40s, slowly starting to see those numbers calm down, but otherwise not too bad. Our temperatures tonight will drop to the 30s, waking up to cold temperatures, but then by the afternoon, we're talking highs above average, reaching the upper 40s for many areas. A little bit cooler north of the city, possibly some low to mid 40s there, but overall a nice winter day ahead of our next weather maker. We're already seeing alerts posted ahead of that system. We've got coastal flood watches in place for areas close to the bay. This is where we could have some coastal flooding, and that could lead to inundation in low-lying areas. We're also looking at flood watches in place across parts of the eastern shore. Again, that system moves in on Tuesday, but we're expecting it to be a heavy rainmaker. We're keeping watch on a low pressure system farther west. Notice all of the alerts ahead of that. We've got wind advisories and also blizzard warnings. So a powerful weather maker is moving across the country, and that's what's going to bring us rain starting on Tuesday. On the future scan, notice that tonight we stay quiet and clear. We start tomorrow with plenty of sunshine, and it looks good throughout the day. The afternoon looks nice and quiet with above average temperatures. Then we start to have more clouds move in into Tuesday morning. We'll wake up to a couple of isolated flurries and possibly some rain showers south of Baltimore. But notice as we continue into the afternoon, a lot of that does transition into rain, which could be heavy at times, especially overnight. So expect a good soaking on Tuesday into Wednesday. We'll start the day with a couple of stray showers. Then into the afternoon, we start to dry out. As far as rainfall totals are concerned, this could lead to up to 2 inches, possibly 2.5 inches across our state. So this is certainly going to have an impact on your drive in the morning, even in the evening, and possibly on Wednesday when we start the day with those spotty showers. 33 for the low tonight with mostly clear skies. Then tomorrow, we're looking at plenty of sunshine as high temperatures reach the upper 40s. Numbers will rise to the 50s on Tuesday, and that's why we're primarily talking that transition into rain by the afternoon. 51 on Wednesday with mainly morning showers. After that, 51 and nice and sunny on Thursday, but we continue an unsettled pattern on Friday. We've got the chance for a few showers. Rain chances increase overnight, lasting into Sunday, 57 for the high. Then we cool down to the 40s on Sunday. Back to you.
Jasmine, thanks. Former President Donald Trump expected in federal court this week as we mark 3 years since the Capitol riot. His message and President Biden's message to voters as the campaign trail heats up. This weekend marks 3 years since the Capitol riots, and the Justice Department is releasing some new footage from just outside the House chamber on the day of the attack. 2 Republican congressmen are seen speaking to the rioters through a shattered glass doorway. One of the congressmen can be heard telling rioters he is ashamed of their behavior. The man who shot the video was found guilty of civil disorder and interfering with election certification. He faces charges next month. Former President Donald Trump is expected to appear in federal court this week on charges of trying to overturn the 2020 election. This comes as the Supreme Court prepares to hear arguments in another case relating to Trump. National correspondent Christine Frizzell brings us up to speed.
And I just hope we get fair treatment, because if we don't, our country's in big, big trouble.
It's the latest prediction from former President Donald Trump, following the decision by the U.S. Supreme Court to hear arguments on February 8th on the Colorado ballot case. The state, along with Maine, disqualifying Trump from the primary ballot, citing the Constitution's 14th Amendment. Attorneys general in 27 states have filed an amicus brief with the High Court, arguing the Colorado court's decision will create widespread chaos and cast confusion into an election cycle that is just weeks away. Still, it's becoming clear 3 years later, the riot at the U.S. Capitol looms large in this year's presidential campaign for both candidates.
The guy who claims law and order sows lawlessness and disorder. You can't be pro-insurrectionist and pro-American.
This newly released video shows Republican lawmakers scolding rioters on that day.
I'm ashamed. And I'm ashamed of my congresspeople.
It's an issue rarely mentioned by Trump's GOP rivals. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis staying mum after reports he may drop out of the race and endorse Trump if he loses Iowa.
There's a lot that happens to accumulate all these delegates. We're going to do well in Iowa, but we're also going to be competing in all these other states.
The 2024 campaign in full swing. The next chapter left up to the voters. The Iowa caucuses just over a week away. I'm Christine Frizzell reporting.
Still ahead, social media has been a huge influence in recent election seasons. Why some say platforms like Facebook and X haven't lived up to free speech standards. This election season, several top officials in Washington will have their eyes on the internet as social media remains a major part of campaigning. Some are questioning the power of companies to restrict what you see online. Full Measure, Cheryl Atkinson reports.
After Donald Trump's victory in 2016, government-driven efforts to police free speech on the internet reached new heights.
Various agencies in the federal government working with big tech and, of course, big academia were all involved in this effort to censor American speech.
Congressman Jim Jordan heads up a House committee investigating weaponization of the federal government. The committee has obtained documents that shed new light on what Jordan says is an elaborate government censorship operation, one that could be ongoing today. The documents were turned over by Stanford University under threat of subpoena. They allegedly show the government partnering with academics and social media companies to censor, silence, and controversialize certain voices.
It was political figures, it was journalists, it was people with big reach online. So that was the effort, but they initially said there was nothing there.
So you might be referring to the Election Integrity Partnership,
Yep.
EIP. If I gather correctly, they're basically a middleman that was created by and used by the government in this massive effort to kind of surveil and censor.
Yep.
The Election Integrity Partnership was spun up at Stanford University 100 days before the 2020 election. It promotes itself as a nonpartisan coalition. Subpoenaed records show it was much more. It was created at the request of the Department of Homeland Security under President Trump. But the Election Integrity Partnership wasn't on Trump's side. Its efforts ultimately undermined his re-election efforts. Documents show that high-ranking officials inside federal agencies helped build an operation with nearly 100 people that worked with over a dozen partners to flag thousands of posts and narratives.
Certain tweets that were put up, they were looking to take those down, limit their visibility, limit their reach. And they had this software system, and they could see what was going in. They could then find, are there any other similar tweets or posts? And it was this elaborate system to censor American speech.
Stanford declined comment for this story. The White House referred us to the Federal Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. A spokesman there told us the agency does not and has never censored any speech and did not found, fund, or have any role in the management of the Election Integrity Partnership. The agency also says it mitigates the risk of disinformation by sharing accurate information and by amplifying the trusted voices of election officials across the nation. By the way, government agencies initially justified their censorship efforts by saying they have to look out for foreigners attempting to undermine American elections. But it's worth noting that after all the talk of Russia in the 2016 election, a study by the New York University Center for Social Media and Politics and other analyses concluded Russia misinformation had, quote, no measurable impact. For Full Measure, I'm Cheryl Atkinson.
The Ravens cap off the regular season at 13-4 and head into the playoffs with a bye. We'll take a look at the AFC playoff picture and who they could face on Sports Unlimited. Well, that's all for the news at 10. I'm Mary Bubala. Thanks so much for watching. Morgan Atzett and Rocco DeSangro join us now with Sports Unlimited. Morgan and Rocco.
Yeah, thank you, Mary. Coming up tonight on Sports Unlimited, the AFC playoff field is set, but seeding still unknown at this point in time.
Yeah, but the Ravens, we know, they're a lock at 1. We'll break down the playoff picture ahead for them.
Say bye to the regular season and hello to the bye. Now the Ravens are approaching the extra time off ahead of their division round matchup back at the bank.
We're waiting on Sunday night game for seeding, but we know who's in, including how the Steelers got in on a wild card thanks to the Titans.
And after having its home win streak snapped at the hands of #1 Purdue, Maryland unable to bounce back against Minnesota. What went wrong in the loss? That's coming up next on Sports Unlimited.
Well, the Pittsburgh Steelers, Rocco, backed their way into the playoffs thanks to beating the Ravens yesterday, and some other things that needed to happen. We'll explain later. The Steelers are in as a wild card.
Yeah, hey everyone, welcome into Sports Unlimited. She's Morgan Adsett. I'm Rocco DeSangro. The entire AFC playoff picture is yet to be set as far as seeding, but for the Ravens, there's no moving from that 1 seed, Morgan.
Oh no, and Week 18 did not matter for the Ravens last night against the Steelers, so they were fine having multiple starters inactive and most on limited reps in their loss to Pittsburgh because all eyes are ahead to the playoffs. It's easy street for the Ravens for at least another week. They'll get a few days off and then back to work on themselves like a real bye week, self-scouting, get healthy, install, just stay ready through the wait because after this week, they'll know who they will host in the divisional round either January 20th or 21st. It's time to take everything they put into the 2023 season, all the success, hard work, and push those chips in for what they hope is a deep playoff run as the AFC's top seed staying in Baltimore until a potential trip to Vegas in February.
The final chapter has been written on a story of the regular season, and now we have an opportunity to write the next chapters. At least we'll get a chance to write next 2 weeks, and then we'll go from there. So hopefully we'll earn the opportunity to write more than that. But I'm proud of the team, coaches, players, everybody in the organization for what's been accomplished up until this point in the regular season. And now we have an opportunity and challenge to take it into the postseason and play the best football that we possibly can. And I'm excited for our guys to do that, and I know they're going to work hard to prepare to do that.
Let's have some playoff scenario fun with our X question of the night while the Ravens wait to see who they will host in the divisional round. Is there any team you would not want them to see in 2 weeks? That's the question of the night. Reply to me at Morgan Atzett, and we will get to those later in the show.
The Ravens wrap up the regular season at 13-4, and with that, the real fun begins. While the team will enjoy a first-round bye, don't get it twisted. Playoff mode for the team begins right now. This group would love nothing more than to be the third team in franchise history to hoist that Lombardi Trophy high in the air, but they're taking it one game at a time and one day at a time. With extra rest, there's always potential for rust, but players aren't worried about that at all.
It's now. Really, take care of your bodies, get ready. We got the advantage. We get an off week to get our guys healed up, get some guys back. But like I said, we get a week of preparation early than what most guys get. I think it's going to benefit us a good way. We just got to keep playing like we've been playing for the past few weeks before this game, and we'll be okay.
Rust seemed to play a factor in 2019, the last time the Ravens secured a first-round bye in the 1 seed. That could have been due to a lighter week of practice. This year, the bye week practice schedule much different. Wednesday through Friday, going on Saturday as well.
The AFC playoff picture still had plenty of moving parts entering Week 18. Things got more complicated thanks to the Texans and Steelers winning. Houston punching its playoff ticket last night while Pittsburgh kept it alive, putting the heat on Jacksonville to be must-win today. And at this time, we still don't know the whole picture with Buffalo and Miami playing for the AFC East title. It is tied at 14 right now in the fourth quarter. The Bills did get a gift this afternoon, though. They found out they were in either way thanks to the Jaguars. Jacksonville's downward spiral continued in a must-win game at eliminated Tennessee Titans. The only way the Jags get into the playoffs is with a win. To the fourth, Jags down 28-13. Trevor Lawrence finds Evan Ingram, 14-yard score. They're down 8. Later in the fourth, same score. Jacksonville on 4th and goal from the 1. They needed a tush-push. Lawrence short, turnover on downs, and they get one more shot under 2 to play. Lawrence on 4th and 2. Incomplete. All they needed to do was win. Instead, the Titans ruined that and get the Steelers in 28-20.